let's talk about organization. I'm going to share with you my entire life organization and how I organize everything in my life in this episode. So I'm kind of an organization nerd. I really love to be organized. I am one of the most organized people I know for sure, maybe bar my mom. My mom is very, very organized, but I am also incredibly organized, and I didn't used to be this way. I used to be late for everything. I used to be constantly forgetting stuff and never have a clear idea of when anything was on. And so I would always have a messy house and just always just feel this constant overwhelm. And now that I am a very organized person, I feel so free, and I want to share that with you. So here is how I organize my life, and I'm going to share a bit on how you can organize yours too. So the first tool that I use is Notion. And if you don't know what Notion is, it doesn't matter because you don't even need to use Notion. But the idea behind why I use Notion as a platform is that it's somewhere online that I can keep absolutely everything in my life in one dashboard. So you could do this on a Google Drive or anywhere else that you like to kind of keep information. I really like to use Notion because I think it's got a really beautiful workflow, but essentially it doesn't really matter where you keep it. If you have got one home, one place for everything, it will shift things, because I used to have 20 different little pieces of paper that I would write things down on. Like if someone gave me a phone number, I'd like write it down on one piece of paper, lose that immediately. Then I would have lists in my phone times 3 million and never come back to them, never know where I wrote stuff down, never know what the thing I was supposed to be doing tonight was. I would have like events that I was supposed to go to that I couldn't remember when they were. So having everything in one space helps so much. So I like to use Notion for that. And the way that I have it kind of laid out is that I have got my life vision in one tab. So I have gone through, and setting this up has taken me, like, it's kind of been a process of like over a year or two of refining this. But I set up my life vision. So I have all the different categories of my life that I want to focus on, and I have a vision for each of those. So that is the first tab. It's got a vision for health. It's got a vision for family and friends, my hobbies, for my environment, for my business, for my finances. All of the different aspects of my life are in there. I think there's about 10 or 12 categories that I used. And I have all of those, like the big vision that I'm working towards. Then I have a new tab, and that has my goals, my current goals within those visions that I'm working on. And so I like to say to my clients that you really want to pick one goal at a time that you're working on, one big goal, but it's okay to have lots of other kind of general goals that are not your main goal that you're kind of working on in the background, but they're not competing for your attention. Like they're not your main thing you're working on. So in there, I share my main goal that I'm working on. And then I also have all of the little other kind of pieces that are coming together that are smaller background goals that I'm working on. Then I've got a tab for my business, and I can read to you what is in it. So I have got my cash flow forecast. I've got my revenue calculator, my content schedule of when I put out my content. It's got my current client calendar, which clients are coming to me when, what days do they come. It's got how I'm going to scale my business. It's got my list of skills that I really want every client to leave with. It's got a process of exactly how I do my podcast, the process of how I do my copywriting, and the process for onboarding my clients. I've also got a bunch of resources in there as well. And then I have my personal tab. It has got a cleaning routine. It has got a food plan of my meal plan that I follow every day, which, by the way, big game changer. I just started following the same meals every single day, and I basically eat the same thing every day, and it is life-changing. Of course, I do eat different foods within the day, but I eat the same category of food every day. So the morning I have a smoothie, or lunch I have a salad, and in the evening I'll have some kind of dish, and then I have my snacks, and I just eat the same things. And it's so easy. And then I can switch up how I have those, but then I make sure I get everything that I need. I also have in there aspects of life. Like I have a fund that I am saving for a house deposit. I have got travel plans that I am making. I have got a a financial plan for my entire life. I've got a network, a list of every single person that I know that I'm wanting to make sure that I can remember to stay in touch with. And then I've got a tab for all the projects I'm working on. So I went through the entire High Performance Habits book and I took out all my favorite bits and I created myself a curriculum that I am working towards so that I am constantly working to be a higher performer. It's also got things like contributions that I'm making. So I'm working with a particular group at the moment, an organization that I'm volunteering for, and I have all the information in there. Every little aspect of my life goes in there in one dashboard. So the second thing that I do is I track my categories. So each of those 10 categories that I was talking about before, I'm actually tracking 8 of them at the moment. I track on a scale of 1 to 10. So every week for the past year, I have sat down on a Sunday night and rated myself on how I feel in that area of my life. And it has gone from 54 or 55, I think it was, out of 80, because there's 10 and there's 8 categories. And now I'm at 78 out of 80. So now that I have got everything in Notion and I know where everything is and I know the goals that I'm going to work on, I can see them all visually. Now I can put each of the actions that I need to take into my calendar. I have not used a to-do list in years. The only kind of lists that I make are like packing lists or shopping lists, but I never make myself a list for like what I'm just going to do that day, because that just leaves it so up to chance. Everything gets put into a calendar. I have got sleep scheduled. I've got mealtime scheduled. I have got phone calls with my friends scheduled. I have got all my client calls. I have got when I'm going to be creating podcasts, when I'm going to be doing my content creation. The reason why it's so valuable to have everything on a calendar is then I can just do the thing on the calendar and not have to worry about anything else, because everything has a time it's going to get done. So it's like I've created a plan, but just having the plan sitting there in Notion isn't going to really do anything. Or just tracking my happiness doesn't really do anything unless I'm actually putting the actions that I want to take into a calendar for a particular time. So once they're in the calendar, I then have to do them, right? And this is probably the hardest bit. Like, even if you can get yourself to be super organized and you've got it all looking pretty in Notion and on your calendar, now you actually got to do the thing. This is where you have to choose your thoughts. You have to get yourself to actually do the things on your calendar by shifting what you're thinking to actually make sure it gets done. I've got whole other episodes on these kind of topics, so I'm not going to go into that right now, but that is the next key tool that I use is actually the thoughts that I think. And I have a list of my thoughts on my desktop on a little sticky note, like the sticky note app on the desktop, and it has all the thoughts that I want to think throughout the day. So anytime I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this, I just quickly open the sticky note and read through all of the thoughts. And that keeps me motivated to do it. What I want to offer is that I know I've shared a lot here. What I don't want you to do is feel overwhelmed by all of this. The best thing that you can do is get somewhere that you can put all of the information that you have about your life. So if you use Google Drive, or I like to use Notion, some of my clients use Trello, whatever suits you to track and keep tabs on all of your projects, all of your work, all of your personal items, your home, your family, anything that you need to keep, all in one space. And then I recommend that you put it all into a calendar and you don't use a to-do list, because to-do lists are just time sucking and you'll just spend your whole life looking at the to-do list and not actually executing anything on the list. But when you put it into a calendar, you can actually see how much time you have and if you're actually going to get it done. Life is so much easier when everything is organized. I just love being an organized person. And if you don't feel like an organized person, the first thing you got to do is decide that you are becoming an organized person. And if that's all you take away from today, that you are becoming an organized person, then that will shift a lot for you in terms of taking action and achieving your goals. All right, that is how I organize my life, and I will speak with you in the next episode.